Hey there, it's Nathalie. Welcome to my channel. Welcome back. Today I have a cheap, fast, and easy project. We're going to make a scrunchie, a hair scrunchie, out of an old tie. Picked up the, well, of course I've already done this, but anyway, picked up the tie at our thrift store for $1. It's silk, and so I thought it would make a really neat scrunchie. And so the word on the street is, the street? Anyway, not that I'm on the street that much other than driving to the thrift store, but scrunchies are making a comeback. Who would have thought? Now, I love the 60s stuff. I'm not so sure about the 80s and 90s stuff, but over on Racked, she has a really cool history of scrunchies. Yeah, the history of scrunchies. So, yeah. But they're making a comeback, and so I thought I would show you. This is a really neat project, not just for a grown-up, but your baby girls could do this. And you can stitch them by hand, or you can stitch them with a sewing machine. Doesn't have to have a tie. I've got a pattern for you that you can download over on myhallcloset.com. And so I'd love for you to hop over there and grab the pattern. I'll give you the dimensions as we're going forward. You'll just need a pair of scissors, a tie, some little elastic, a seam ripper, and maybe a little bit of crochet thread, but that's another little tip that I'm going to show you later on in the video. Let's get started. This scrunchie made out of an old tie, or it could be a new tie, but anyway, we're going to make it out of a tie. I got this at the thrift store, and I'm going to need some little elastic. You can use round elastic or just a really small elastic. It's got a good amount of stretch. And a seam ripper and a pair of scissors. And my pattern is available over on my blog, myhallcloset.com. You can download it there for free. So I'm going to use first a pair of, I'm going to use my seam ripper and disassemble the tie. It's got the label gone, and I can just grab that thread and pull. Look, there it is, and my tie is unstitched. All right, and I don't need all of this, so I am just going to cut this edge off and this lining part and get rid of that. So I'm going to speed through this. And then I am going to go press this, and then I will be right back. I've got my ironing board set up. Just kind of be mindful. If it's silk, you may not want to put it on the highest setting. And so then, let me go press this, and I'll be right back. On your pattern, there is a guide for how long to cut your elastic. So this is 8 inches. I'm going to go ahead and cut that now and move this pattern out of the way so we can move on with the rest of this. So there's that. That out of the way. Now I've pressed my tie, but let me tell you this. This tie was 4 inches across. Let me move this over here so you can see. 4 inches, like right across that little wide point before it gets down to its point, that widest area before it gets down to its point. So also, ties, again, like I said, are cut on the bias. Now, there's a seam right here. I've already pressed this all open, but there's a seam right here. And I am at 3 inches. This is 3 inches, so this piece is going to be 3 by 18. There's a fold. So instead of going down here to the tip and using up this wide part, I may decide I want to do something else with that. So I am going to fold this right sides together, and I'm going to come down. Let's see about how far I'm going to go. So I'm going to avoid that seam right there. I don't need that in there. But I'm going to go right down, and don't do this, okay? That's going to kind of be kind of wonky-fied. So I am, will that be too wonky-fied? Yeah. All right, so let me show you this. I'm going to back up just a little bit. about ties and them being on the bias. Bias means like this, the straight of this fabric is like right here, and there's very little stretch. But bias means that there's a lot of stretch going on, and just about all ties are cut on the bias. All right, so that means when we stitch this, it's going to be a little bit stretchy, but that's going to be okay for a scrunchie, and we're wanting to use some vintage ties to do this. So I'm going to move that up just a little bit, and I have this much space, so I'm trying to work around my camera and stay in my frame here, because I don't have, so if I was in my studio, I would have it on a different other tripod. But I'm not in the studio. I am in my sewing room. So we'll make do with what we have. Get some pins. Put a couple of pins to hold the pattern in place. I've got fabric, it's right sides together, and then you can use scissors or you can use a rotary cutter. And so I'm just going to use my scissors just in case you need to see how it's cut with scissors. We have this cut. I'm going to take this, just one end, and fold it under about 1/4 inch. And you could stitch this if you want to across here, but I am just going to fold it, and then I'm going to put a pin in it. Now I want to show you something that's really kind of, I think it's going to be, I've never tried this before, but I was just thinking, I think this might be a good idea. So I'm going to make a loop. This is crochet thread, and I'm going to make a loop in the end of the crochet thread, just like that. And I'm going to put a safety pin here just to make sure I can have the, yeah. Anyway, I've got a little safety pin in that loop. So I'm going to put this right here, and then I'm going to pull this down and cut several inches extra off down here. So yeah, and then now I'm going to, and I want to make sure that I don't stitch this thread. All right, so I'm going to stitch, I'm going to pin where I'm going to stitch. Now you can stitch this by hand or you can stitch it by machine. I'm going to stitch it by machine, and again keeping in mind that this is cut on the bias, so it's a little tiny bit stretchy. If you just use a regular piece of fabric, you can cut it on the straight grain. It's easy, and it doesn't stretch on you. But I really like this little pattern in this tie, and I thought this is a way to recycle your silk ties. And this is silk. We did find out that there was a tab in here that said it's silk. Where is it? There it is. 100% silk, all silk. So dealing with silk and dealing with stretch. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this safety pin and I'm going to attach it into this corner, the fold right here. But I need to get these threads out of the way. Don't stitch that, okay? Do not stitch that thread, because we're going to use this to turn this right side out. So I'm going to go to the sewing machine. All I'm going to do is a 1/4 inch stitch. I'm going to back tack right here, backspace, and backspace, I think that's keyboard. Back stitch. Okay, right here, and then do a 1/4 inch seam all the way down to the end, little back stitch right there, and then I'll be back. All right, this is all stitched with a little 1/4 inch seam, and my thread is out here on the end. It's pinned to this end. This is the turned down end, and I don't know that it really matters which one you do, but I just pinned it to this one. So if this works the way I think it will work, I think that if I pull this thread, I should be able to pull that in and just pull it through. Let me get it right here so you can see. And I should have been able to attach the elastic, but I couldn't think about that this morning. I've only had 2 cups of coffee, so I'm not ready for thinking about all of that stuff just yet. So here we go. Ta-da! There it is. And we'll put that little end back in. All right, very good. Yeah. So we have that little tube now, and you can press it or not. I think I'm not going to press it. And I'm going to get me just a little bit bigger safety pin to run my elastic through. Attach your piece of elastic to a safety pin. And then it doesn't matter which end you go into, but I'm going to go into the end that's been turned. And then the other thing that you want to make sure that you do or don't do is don't pull your elastic all the way through. Otherwise, you'll have to come back and rethread this. So I'm about here with my elastic. I'm going to go ahead and put a pin into the silk and the elastic and hold that elastic is in place. Okay, so it's not going to pull through. Here's my safety pin. I can feel that through the fabric. Scrunching this down. Hence the term scrunchie. All right, so I've got this end out. I've got this end out. Now I think I'm safe to just pull this through and tie a little square knot. And you just want to make sure, and now you could stitch this if you want to stitch this, you know, take it to the sewing machine and sew it, or sew it by hand. So there we go. And then I'm going to just pull both ends, pull it tight, 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 and then make sure that knot is not fixing to slide back out on me. I'm going to clip off the ends, not too terribly far, but just a little bit. There we go. Now then, I want to make sure that my seam is, I mean, it could be to the inside or the outside. I just want to make sure it's not wrapped around. Okay, so right now I have the seam all to the outside, and I'm going to put this raw edge into the little finished edge, and then I will stitch that by hand. So let me put a little pin in there. I could stitch it on the machine, but I think I would rather stitch it by hand. Let's see, do I want that on the machine or by hand? Okay, all right, so let me put a pin in there, get a needle and thread. To stitch this together, I'm going to bury my knot. I already have my needle threaded and the knot is in the end. I'm going to bury that knot underneath the seam, tuck that little thread in, and making sure that I don't catch, I've got my seams matched right here, and then I am going to make sure that all my little ends are kind of tucked in here. Let me pick up a little stitch. This will be easier. And then I'm going to come over and grab that. There we go. And then so whenever you put this on your hair is protected. My hair is too short to wear a scrunchie, but I've got some grandgirls and maybe they'll enjoy these. Switch it around. It'll, you know, like wrap it around your ponytail. And there you go. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure you subscribe. Give me a little thumbs up. Let me know if you like my cheap, fast, and easy projects. And hop over to my hall closet, download the pattern. And I'll see you next time. Bye.